Welcome to today's fit. Here with Jack Fowler, who's relatively new to golf,
Relatively
in
new,
kind of
yeah.
the quickly improving stage.
Yeah.
Going to be looking at woods today. So, what got you into golf?
Well, after COVID, basically, it was one of the only sports we could play because it was outside. You just wasn't allowed to actually take the flag out when it was after COVID. So we really got into it then, and obviously there was a boom in golf. Really took to it, and yeah, just love the sport basically. I wish I found it earlier. So. Yeah.
There are a lot of people I know who said, I didn't play it when I was younger because I thought it was an old man sport,
yeah,
and now regret not playing when younger as well. So,
yeah.
So with your game generally, obviously, rapid improvement, putting a lot into it quite clearly.
Yeah.
Is there a particular key focus today at the top end of the bag? Is there an element you're most interested in working out?
Yeah, well, it's getting the driver in play more often, basically. So I've never been fitted specifically for a driver. So I don't know if the swing weight's correct, I don't know if the bias of what I'm trying to do is correct, maybe my swing's not very good, I don't know, but I'm sure there'll be something here, whether it's the shaft, the combination of everything, that will make my misses better, which is basically what golf is. You never hit an absolutely perfect shot, it's either offline by 1 foot or 20 yards, 50 yards, whatever it may be. So if we can get the misses down, that'll be perfect for me.
Perfect, great stuff. Well, let's get cracking, see what we can do.
Cool. I've no idea what the shot shapes have been like whilst I've been hitting. I've just been hitting and looking back at you. So because we have a TrackMan at mine, and my normal kind of stock speeds would be somewhere between 116 and 118.
Yeah.
The miss hit would be in the bad quarter, which is like bottom left.
Okay. Yeah.
Which would obviously create high spin.
Yeah.
Bring
A
the
little
carry
bit
down,
of left to right gearing.
Bleed out to the right, and so I don't know what it's going to, what being in a different sim and just doing all this is going to be like. But
yeah, and sometimes what you find you get in this environment is just a completely freed up swing, rather than like on course. Sometimes it becomes a little bit more, slightly less free, and therefore a little more conscious of where the ball's going. So maybe a little bit less flow through.
Yeah.
So if you've got a particular miss in the locker, then you might be a bit anxious about it and just go looking for it and exacerbate it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, actually, because these ones, what we're seeing is a pattern.
That shot right there looks great to me. That's actually what I want. I don't get that much on the golf course.
Yeah. So that one's actually, it's due to heel strike. So that one's
I felt that.
A little bit out the inside, which is just geared it back that way. But as you say, you're then at 3-wood spin.
And this is why I've moved this weight into the heel one to actually move my centre of gravity over a little bit, so that I'm getting less of that cog, that like effect. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, generally what we're seeing is the angle of attack's pretty much regiment 1.5 degrees down.
Okay.
So it's a little bit, but not enough to be a concern.
Yeah.
Your club path is 1 to 2 degrees in to out. So again, that very, very repeating. So tolerance-wise, 0.2 and 0.4 of a degree. So very, very steady.
That face, that's where it's going wrong.
The face is closing a little bit. Now that can happen through it being a little bit behind, as well as if something's too light, then you can flip it closed. But equally speaking, your driver being up at D 5.6, so it's relatively strong in terms of swing weight. The balance in the shaft's bottom half, so there is weight in the bottom end dropping it in behind.
Yeah.
So you can get, I mean, Matt certainly gets it as well. The moment it gets behind, he kind of wraps it around and flips it over. So it's just that the variability of it. If you think how repeating all the other aspects are, it's a little bit of finding square with it, rather than being able to just turn onto it and collect it.
It feels like hard work. Out of all the clubs that I use in the bag, it feels like hard work, and usually towards the end of the round, I'll start to, well, I'm carrying my bag at the moment. I used to be someone with a trolley, but the lower back here, so I know the more stuck I get, it requires me to kind of do this motion, and the lower right side starts to hurt. And when I'm making a good swing, it's in there, and it's just in front of me the whole time. It just doesn't hurt. So
and as you say there, you through the ball, if it's with you, everything's extending through, so that right side can carry on going. When it gets behind, you get that little bit more compression, a little more
like
up and out of it,
here at the back
and
as well.
and it just then compresses in that right hand side. So you've got very good mobility, but sometimes that can, if it's got the tendency to drop under, then you can kind of compress in that right hand side. So the more the club does that, the more it gets that kind of dropped and then either kind of clung onto to make sure it doesn't go left, or the whip over. So again, that bit of volatility on the club face. Well, and left's more damaging than right, so the chances are you're going to hold onto the face on the course.
This is why I'm seeing
here you might see that flip over.
So if I'm playing a shot, I'll be looking to the left side of the fairway, and there might be a bunker on the left side. I'll aim at the right side of the bunker and let it kind of peel off. Amount of times it will start up the middle of the fairway. I'm like, oh no, and it's just drifting and drifting, and you get a bit of left to right winds, and you're, so I'm really struggling with this with the start lines, and I'm fully open to. It might be me needing more lessons.
Well, we can see from those, the fact that you're doing what you're doing as consistently as you are, what that says, if you're getting the variability on course, it's because you're having to manage that club face, manage the start line, and because you've got a bit of variation in there, it becomes hard to say, right, I know I can put a solid swing, I know I can start it on that line, it's going to drift one way or the other. So you end up having to play shots the whole time. Which then just becomes hard, especially if you're at the speed you're at, you've got very little margin of error from a left-right point of view. So everyone wants to hit it further, but actually to hit the fairway, your base angle's got to be half as much as someone who hits it to 20.
I've had this conversation with people before, they're like, oh, I wish I could hit that far. I'm like, you have to be very accurate and conservative, in some situations. It's like, you've got more potential, but it requires a lot more practice, or you need to be on your A game, and it can actually damage your score more if you're not on it. So, I mean, those numbers, that club path is great for a draw, really, but I'm leaving the face is.
Well, I mean, the question mark for me, I wonder whether it is. I kind of look at this and say, well, actually, if we're looking at the strike pattern, is it actually gearing rather than face angle?
That I'm getting the fade,
or because it's got that little bit of a flip, you're just making sure it doesn't, so holding on to it a little bit.
If the club's coming from the inside, does that mean it presents more of the hill? Because I'd have thought.
If you were a long way from the inside, you're only 2 degrees. So, but if it's got a little bit of a catapult round, then yes, it's going to move the strike towards that way. Where it's going to get that way on you rather than handle coming through and working inside. So that will affect it a little bit for sure. But say potentially it's as much gearing as face angle. So what we will do is we'll start off with looking at, certainly want to make the balance a little bit more even. I mean, that's the one thing we go, I mean, interesting actually, through the rest of the set, the fairway woods, not dissimilar in balance point, but not as head heavy. Your 3-iron driving on there, that shaft is much more evenly balanced. So it's got some feel of the club head, but the whole club is proportionally a bit lighter, but evenly balanced through. And then the ping irons, I know you're about to
They should
change.
be all D2, this is D3 and then D4.
So the 4 and the 6 iron are D0.8.
Oh, you measured them?
Yeah, on those couple, just to get a picture of the top end. I
measured them the other day as well.
There are tolerances on all of them.
Wow.
So we've calibrated these to the SwingX girls to some clubs from the brand as well. But there will be, and that's one of the dangers with that swing weight scale, or these ones, because they're all calibrated together, will measure slightly differently than a pro shop somewhere else or another club
the one
builder.
I used was the proper old school with the move the weight one. But I don't think
it's still, as a reference point, it's great. So these have been calibrated to like 3 or 4 of the manufacturers' test clubs as well. But very consistent. The difference on the irons being that the Dynamic Gold, the 120s you've got in these, are tip heavy, but they're not head heavy. So there's balance in the bottom half of the club, but not right down the bottom end. Whereas on this one, the balance point is more, it's tip side of the shaft, but also more head heavy as well. So that tendency for that club head to get a little bit, potentially a little out of sync and behind, and to drop in, which rotates the face, and then you've got to collect the face again, is exacerbated by that setup. So what I'm going to do to start with, I'm going to use, rather than pulling that one apart, I'll use current version of that head, and we'll look at the weighting and the balance. We'll work on the shaft side of things first. That'll then give us sort of what I kind of call true picture of delivery, and then we can start to use the head to work flights and things from there. So start with the current version of that head so we don't change too much from the head point of view. I'm going to keep the shaft weight the same, but just even out the weighting. So really kind of go one variable at a time. So we can say, right, does each change, if I can pick up the screw, what does each change actually achieve? Is it better is it achieving the kind of improvements we want to see? And if so, we'll carry on down that route until we go too far, and if not, well, we know why it's not doing what we want it to, and we can reroute from there. So, how often do you play?
Well, to be honest, most days, especially now the weather's good. You know, it's hard through the winter. We had a very wet winter, didn't we? So even now we have a week of rain, but yeah, I try to get up and do something, even for a couple of hours, whether it's some holes with some people up there that's playing, or just a bit of range practice, chip in, putt in.
Where do you play your golf?
West Herts.
Okay,
yeah. So it's in kind of like Watford / Rickmansworth, Croxley Green, that kind of area.
So I wouldn't fancy being a greenkeeper at the moment, the amount of growth they've got going on.
They'll cut it and you'll see it almost at the end of the day, it's grown again.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
I've had a tough year this year. That's,
if you miss the green at the moment, even if you can see the ball, it's just a bit snaggy because it's quite thick grass still.
It's heavy down the bottom.
Heavy.
Yeah. Not a good time to be playing on a course where there's lots of long wispy grass.
Yeah.
So shaft-wise, still structurally very stable. You know, as you've got a lot of speed, we want to keep that kind of feeling of tightness.
So it's a Diamana.
Yeah. So the whiteboard. So tip stable. I mean, so the AV White is a tip stiff, lower spin profiler shaft.
Yeah.
As is the whiteboard.
And I need my launch angle up because I was seeing 7.6. I mean, that's half of that is the attack angle, but normally like once I'm swinging well, close to 0. But still that would be like 9 launch at best, which needs to be a little bit higher. So
yeah, and it's something that, I mean, the one thing, because of the amount of speed you've got, if you take that shot, you know, your flight height, you're still up at 25 yards. So yes, it's strong, it's not crazy low. The benefit of having the ball speed you've got is actually flight isn't generally much of an issue in that, whereas if you were down at 80 mile an hour club speed with that flight, you wouldn't get any carry. Because you've got a lot of ball speed, you still get, like that still carried 272. If I put it on
is that the average on those? Or was that
I can go into the average of that there. Yeah, I think that was the average, yeah. So actually, from a total distance point of view, at 1.5 degrees down, that trajectory is actually pretty good. Yeah. Now, if I put it on...
Look at that speed though, that's the hill part of it, you know, isn't it?
Yeah. If I put it on carry in total, okay, there's another, you can get another 12, 13 yards of carry, but only 7 of total. So the lower flight, the run out distance is always efficient, but yes, a little bit
more important for me now. Like going into winter, that would be affecting me. Whereas summer, it's not really. I
summer
can get away
will
with
go like a train.
Launch. Yeah.
But then the problem potentially is it just runs and runs and runs and runs
into the rough. Yeah.
So it can just then mean it's uncontrollable. So yeah, a little bit more flight definitely be a good thing.
Yeah. Is it the same shaft length?
Actually, a little bit shorter. This one's
so.
just under 45.5. So that's also going to contribute to it swinging a little bit, swinging a little bit more bottom end heavy. And again, the longer it gets, the more likely to drop in behind as well.
Yes,
so it's going to
I was going to talk to you about that as well. Like, you know, going back to that, the 2-wood, is it the burner thing that come out recently?
A
lot of people
minis,
are going, I don't want that in my bag because I think I need to be able to use all the speed and get out there. But a lot of the success of people hitting more fairways is probably the shorter shaft as opposed to
and you're only a few miles an hour off, and as you say, if you're hitting the fairway, you're getting run out. If you're straighter, you gain confidence, so you gain some of that. Most players gain some of that club speed back. But it is then that question of what's more important, being in play or squeezing another 5-10 yards.
Exactly.
Out. Okay. Okay, yeah, so we're same base loft of head, and by it not being as far behind, so he's still a little bit down angle of attack, but launch angle's up.
Yeah, 10,
so you can certainly see there's less of that drop and have to fetch at it.
Yeah, so still one down and almost at 11 launch with 2.6 spin. You know, that's not even like 3,000 or something. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, and say head-wise, there are others which will help get a bit more launch angle as well.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so what you see straight away out of this is by it not dropping in behind, we've lost that roll of the face.
Yeah.
So these are both stayed slightly open. Contact point's probably a little...
It was slightly hilly, because you can kind of feel it twist as you hit it and deflect.
So hence the ball speed drop, but actually face to path, the tolerance is to 2 swings, but the tolerance is only ½ a degree.
Yeah.
So I'll watch one more of that.
Yeah.
Certainly validates evening the weight out through it though.
Again, it's just me. See,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's change that up. So I'm going to say face angle marginally closed there, but that is getting into the heel side. But certainly by getting the body of weight away from the club head end, it's now not dropping behind.
Yeah. Possibly
overdone it a little bit, but I'm going to push dead weight a bit. I want to just test out where, from a sequencing point of view, where too heavy is to get the whole club dropping behind, because that's certainly not dropping in behind you. It's just kind of what are the thresholds, and then we can work within that.
Okay.
So again, delivery lines stayed very, very neutral. Yes, the attack angle tends a little bit down, but once you stop having to kind of manage club face, that then makes that really easy to work on. So I'll leave that there for the moment. And I'll just take the dead weight of the shaft up a little bit. Just challenge the timing a little bit by pushing the weight up. I don't want to go a huge amount, so take it up about another 6-7 grams or so. Pick out the right one. Yeah. So just take the total weight up a bit.
Okay.
There's a fine line between enough weight to use to build speed with, and then it comes on. So at the moment with your current one, it's the club head dropping behind.
Yeah.
Just want to push the total weight.
The club path has actually been quite consistent, and this is what's happened recently when I had a lesson in a TrackMan. It was like, okay, the lesson was all about the face angle. Take away, making sure it's in the right place, and no matter what I do, especially with the driver, it just gets stuck there, and I'm...
Yeah.
So the one we just used, was it the swing weight was the same, but you changed the way the
swing
weight was
balanced?
balanced?
A little lighter, but lighter through. I didn't make head weight lighter, just took the balance away from the tip end of the shaft. So kept the base shaft weight very similar, but just brought the balance up the shaft a little bit. And this one we're just pushing the dead weight of the shaft up a little bit.
More, so more and more.
A little more total weight. Yeah, I just want to see where we go, where we find too heavy, then we can bring it back down.
So, before I hit the next one as well, with some of these clubs, obviously when you've got the TSI on here, but when you actually look at the club, that's actually more heel base, or it's going to promote more of a... This is what's confusing for me, because I feel like I'm seeing the heel strike, I'm setting it up in the middle, I'm even sometimes standing a little bit further back, and I'm still hitting it out the heel. I don't feel like I'm going to the ball. So I'm a bit not confused, but just...
I think, yes, so we'll see how, as we go through, where that strike point goes to. So you're not moving into it.
I mean, you can tell me if I am. I'm not going to be offended. If my swing's not very good, you just tell me.
No, you can see from that path stability and downward angle attack, if you're moving into it, you're going to generally be more sort of up and flip most of the time. Because otherwise, to be slightly down and moving into it doesn't really, the two go contrary to one another. So you generally, because you're clearing through strongly, that tends to get that little bit more of a lead and tend to just squeeze it a little bit. So not something, I don't think something to worry about, but I'll keep an eye on it.
That felt better with the face.
Yeah, so it's interesting how, and this is one of those, theory is great, but you only know by trying it, seeing how someone uses that little bit extra weight. So with that, we might have lost a mile an hour club speed, but actually, okay, it's one swing, but all the lines are squared up. So from a shot point of view,
I mean, there's a lot of zeros
it's a
there,
much squarer shot. So, pretty centered contact point as well. Now there's still a little bit more to achieve out of this, but on face value, actually going a little bit heavier, actually, but not in the bottom end, just sinks things up a little bit. We'll watch a couple more and
cool.
hopefully get the consistency of that.
See if it's repeatable,
that looked good.
Yeah, to me, in my hand, it kind of feels like it. There's more play when I just do that. You know what a lot of people do. Oh, it feels. Well, but before coming here, you'd think, oh, maybe I need something stiffer because if it's faces open, maybe it's too flexible. You know, so you see a lot of people talk about these things, but this feels better. Because there's more play, I can feel it moving, so I can.
Okay, yeah, and some of the play in it is there's a little bit of tip response to this shaft, so it's not rigid down the bottom, but it's very low torque. So there's not a lot of twist in it, but there's a little bit more give in the bottom section.
Is that what helps the launch come up a little bit from mine, or?
Marginally.
I keep asking you the.
Yeah, marginally.
Yeah.
But angle of attack better there as well.
Yeah. Left it out to the right a bit. Is that the heel again? Looks like it.
I think not a lot, I don't think. No, it's
actually it's the same.
More centered contact.
Yeah, same area there. Yeah.
Watch one more of that.
Okay. That was definitely lower in the face.
Okay, it's definitely having just to collect it a little bit. I think the slightly heavier weight's not a bad thing, but I'm just going to draw it back. So you're actually putting the two out of three of those, the line of the path and the face have squared up better.
Yeah.
But it looks like you're having to just fetch it a little bit.
Okay.
It's not
really
horrendous, but yeah,
again.
that's the one that's got it down to that low heel, which is just such a weak area of the club head. But the previous two were, put it onto that screen now, the previous two were centered and centered.
It's amazing that's kicked it up. It's just 1300, 12
really,
to 1300 spin, and it's, well, 1.5 centimetres away from middle.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's quite a lot. Yeah. On the screen, it doesn't look like a lot, but when you think about how,
No, I mean, it highlights how hard golf is. I mean, there was one quote from someone the other day that said, be more forgiving on yourself. It's we could all definitely learn from that, that's for sure. Take a couple of grams off. Just going to take the balance point up the shaft a little bit as well. Just I don't want to lose feel for the club head, but we're trying to avoid that bottom end getting behind. So just shift that balance point a little bit and dead weight back a couple of grams. So go with just a little bit more of a shift in in balance point with the Tensei, the Pro Orange, which is a little bit more counterbalanced. Now, this is just sort of testing out whether do we still need something in the bottom half, or does that lighter head help just to get that club through and not have to drag on it?
Okay.
So it's a couple of grams difference to the last shaft, but again shifting that weight up a little bit further.
Is this the 1K range?
Yeah.
That's the upgraded version from whatever the Raw.
So the Raw was more of a, for want of a better phrase, an entry-level version. So it's still a proper Mitsubishi shaft. So what they don't do is they don't make a made-for Titleist tailor-made model, but they use the AV Raw as their kind of baseline model, and then the 1K and the Pros are the kind of the top grade materials.
Okay, right.
Great.
All ready?
Yep, all good, thank you. I'll see one more just to make certain, but I think that's just lost too much of the bottom end. So you manage the second swing well.
Yeah.
But as you transition down, the club doesn't naturally drop in. You're having to put it there. So we need the club to drop a bit if you to then build the action with.
Okay.
That one, the first one, went again, great delivery line, so you've done your bit right, but because the club didn't drop, there's nothing then to almost sort of shut the door with, so it's just straight out that way. I don't want counterbalance, I want even distribution, and I don't want to go too heavy. We want to keep it stable, so I'll go this one. So Speeder NX green, very tip stable, very neutrally weighted, in that sort of 66, 67 gram area, so up a little bit from the current shaft. See how it swings.
I mean, that's heel again. A little bit. Yes, that's what's kicked the spin up then.
Yep.
There.
That's dropping into line better.
Yeah.
So yeah, so strike point a little off, but first one's solid, second one's on a better line, and you can see start to build through a little bit, but that's basically zeroed out. So maybe a little
slightly high in the face, yeah.
Yeah, a little higher on the face.
So it feels, I can feel it high in the face, but when I've done that, I know I've actually got the launch angle up and I've got lower spin. So that's kind of, if you're going to miss,
I mean,
that's
it's a great miss. Yeah,
yeah,
especially if you tend to lower flight slightly higher at the face, so it gives you the launch angle, but doesn't flip the spin up too much.
Yeah, you can kind of get away with an attack angle slightly down if you're doing that almost.
Yeah, I know, 1 degree down is absolutely fine. If you're 3, 4, 5, and then the face is offline as well, that's when the spin can really, really hurt you. I'll see one more with that.
Okay.
That's certainly moving better. And so that was hit. You could hear that was a different contact.
Go right a little bit. Yeah.
Right a little bit. Okay.
I mean,
okay.
As much as you can fit someone, if they make a bad swing, you know, I've left the face open. I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, the delivery line's very stable. That I'm certainly going to. I'll come back to that one for sure. That's closer.
From your experience, when you come to fittings, is it when you get someone that's consistent at more of club path or face path? Is it usually the face or the club path that's the more consistent?
Path's normally more consistent.
Yeah, okay, so it is the face that's hardest to control.
Players are a lot more consistent on angle of attack and path than they think they are.
Yeah.
It's just it's then a question of, does the path then react to a shot shape or not?
Right.
So the natural movements, we're all really pretty darn consistent. But what tends to happen is on course we'll start reacting to a miss right or a miss left by either shifting path or holding the face off, and that's then when the dispersion really kicks up. So the better we can get, if that's your miss pattern, okay, fine, because if the generally a solid one straight and there's the odd one right, well, you can play for that, you can plan for it, you can strategize.
Do you know how many yards offline that is, just out of interest?
Because of your speed, it'll be a reasonable bit. Yeah, that's like kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's me aiming 40. At the left side of the fairway, and I'm maybe have a shot in it on the right side.
Hold
so
the right edge. Yeah.
I don't. That's what I don't want.
But you know, the other two, for example, you know, that's 5 foot, and the first one. Oh, sorry, the first one was 9 yards. So yeah, actually, you know, those ones were much more stable. So we'll come back to that one. I'm going to put this one back, and then.
I'm surprised you haven't given me a Velocore yet, the Ventus, instead of. I have tried one before.
Well, the one I'm going to get is actually the TR, because that keeps the balance away from the tip end.
Okay.
A little bit more.
Just while he's doing that, can I ask you, how are you finding this? Do you feel like you're learning a lot?
Oh yeah, it's great just learning about basically the balance of the club, because as a player, when you swing, even when you watch yourself, if someone's recorded you might not see all these little intricacies, whereas someone that's fitting all the time, they get to see it day in, day out. So trying to figure this out with someone like this is great.
And it's quite fun as well, isn't it?
It is fun, especially having the TrackMan with all the numbers. I wish I had the TrackMan at home. They're a little bit expensive, so.
So go on the TR. Partly, you load the shaft strongly so that the weave at the top kind of holds on a little tighter, but it pulls the balance up the shaft. The standard blue, I go on the blue because I don't want to knock launch angle down, so the black would bring everything down a bit more. But that balance point coming up should just mean it swings a little bit more comfortably.
So I have had a hit with a a Ventus Black 7X before, but it was in like a 46 shaft with a Paradigm triple diamond heads.
Got it.
But so I kind of, yeah.
I would say, yeah,
they sound different when you hit the ball as well, even with the same head.
It will change the acoustics, definitely. Yeah, the materials from the shaft, the way some of that, some of the vibration, some of the sound amplifies up the shaft, it will change the sound a little bit.
Yeah, sound a bit more
but
dense.
yeah, the 7X in a black is something I wouldn't go anywhere near for you.
That was Callum Shinquin's, so he's
okay,
fast swinger, and
he's a strong boy as well.
Yeah. But he was like, I'll just use this for a bit. So it was one of them. I was just having a bit of fun with it.
Club is an appropriate word for that, I think.
Yeah.
Give me a hernia just thinking about that.
I think that's what Scheffler uses, is it? 7X. I think it's the Ventus Black 7X.
Solid.
It's just leaky right again.
A little leaky right.
I mean, it feels like me doing this. So it sounded different, like we said, just a little bit. Right. So it is the club path is still pretty consistent. It's just that face. Okay.
But as we've changed things around, it will. We might find we go to a slightly different head that helps it square off a little bit more as well.
Okay.
So what you're doing input-wise is nice and consistent, which for me is the most important bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one's definitely dropping under a little bit more.
I've tried to kind of keep the face more shut on that, and it's still free open.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very consistent, but consistently off to the right, so that's going to make you have to fetch it. So watching you swing this one, as you started down, you could see it work that way a little bit more.
Yeah, so my hands are kind of gone out, and that's dropping back right.
Yeah, and just it's still a slightly more tip balanced shaft than that speeder NX green, so it's just started to drop that under, rotate the face open. So again, you're absolutely on line, but the face is just getting open on you.
Okay, yep.
And those are the kind of marginal differences on shaft. Because you've got that kind of crack of the whip speed rather than a kind of big old kind of pull down, it's a sharper later acceleration. So it amplifies up the changes in weight. So if you're going, you can get to 115 from a big pull from the top and a lot of the energy going in straight away, and actually it's a more gradual increase in speed. So actually you can get away with a little bit more. Whereas if it's a late whip, then actually you're amplifying the acceleration rate. So anything about the club, balance, time-wise, is exaggerated as well. So your window for you, because you've got that kind of laggy, whippy speed, actually it makes the sensitivity to balance a lot more.
Right.
I'm just going to go back to this, having swung that last one.
I'll just get a quick drink.
Certainly there are other heads we'll go to that I would expect to help a little bit more with the launch and the spin.
Yeah.
So strike point wise. I mean, the TSRs aren't bad heel side, but for example, the Callaway should be a good one from a slight heel miss.
The only reason I got this is because we had like a Titleist day at the club, and everyone at the time, about a year and a half ago, all the good players basically had the TSI free. So I was like, well, everyone on tour has them. Good players at the club who pay for them have them. So I thought I'll just buy it. Obviously, I've gotten used to the look and the feel, but I'm open to trying whatever.
Because ultimately, between the heads, some heads just manage the strike point a little better than others, and that's normally what marks out one head for a player. If someone's got a high toe miss, then take the one the heads will go to, the Callaway, the triple diamond, can be a bit brutal at the toe.
It sits a bit open though, doesn't it?
You've got the sleeve, you can bring it squared off there.
Yeah.
But slightly at the heel side.
So I like how this looks. It's like the shape I like. That it doesn't seem to be open too much or closed.
No, very neutral from a setup point of view. Yeah.
Well, I say that it's not been working for me, so maybe it's time we try something else. Right. Oh, that's rubbish. Rubbish swing, I mean, not the club.
Do one more with it. I might change head up just to.
That's going to be low.
Okay. Let me just switch head. That's a better collection of it. And the other one you can see you just had a little bit of just came off it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just want to go to a different head just to see if that can help. One with the launch and the spin numbers, but also by moving the weight a little further forward, well, that helps to square the face up a little bit.
As much as it's fitting there, like on the second one, because I knew the face was open 5, I've tried to keep the hands out because I want it to come in from that angle, whereas the first one kind of just rushed the swing. Okay. So, but it's hard to try not to do swing thoughts whilst I'm getting fitted, but it's hard when you know that the face keeps staying open.
So going to the AI Smoke Triple Diamond allows me to keep the weight forwards, but generally a head that keeps launch up and spin down, so it should work for the ball flight we want. Just move these weights around. So I want to get the heavier weight at the front of the head.
Yeah. Is that to reduce spin?
Yeah, but also if you have a tendency to open the face, a lot of weight at the back actually gears the head round a little bit more as well. So I certainly find that for me, I have a little bit of open and close with the head, and a heavy back-weighted head opens more. And
isn't it more the forgiving heads would have the heavier weight at the back? So technically, for some players, that would be less forgiving. Yeah. So
yeah, it makes the face control harder. Yeah. Or can make the face control harder. Yeah.
There's a lot of words used in advertising that kind of contradict each other in golf sometimes. Not meaningfully, I don't think, but something that's advertised forgiving might not be some players. Like, you know, for a better player, using a forgiving iron is probably not as forgiving because it might be hotter front to back. And
yeah, I think that we're now as every characteristic has got exaggerated from a design point of view. You know, we're starting to see some elements actually can certainly very much help performance, but also push it the wrong way as well. And it's just where everything's got more exaggerated. The ability to move weight around the head has increased. So like how light the centre of the head is here, you're actually shifting quite a lot of mass towards the back. So this is just fine tuning swing weight.
How much is that? A couple of grams?
That's about a gram and a half.
Gram and a half, yeah.
So just under a swing weight point. Which in the build we'll use the weights or a little bit of internal weighting. So
I'm impressed they don't fly off when you hit them, like when they just.
They do sometimes,
like yeah.
They? Yeah. So there we go.
I like the look of it at the top. It looks like it's sitting toe up, very toe up.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit more rounded up on the toe end of the head, so it does have a little bit more of an upright look to it. Okay.
And there's no marking at the top where like middle would be, so it might take me a couple of hits just to kind of get used to that. Oh God.
Interesting. Still going that way.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Even that one, but that's still
okay. I'll watch more. That one, I mean, spin good.
Bit heely, I think.
It's interesting. I'll a little lighter on swing weight with that. I'm gonna just get it up a little bit more just to match where the Titleist was, because it is slightly lighter than where we had the Titleist head. Yeah. So that's just got another half a point on it. Okay. It's back up to, so we're at D2.5 at the moment. Okay, better back with a slightly heavier head. Yeah. So immediately that's, yes, it's a little bit right, but the contact's full speed straight back up. Okay.
it's like, I feel it's a neutral swing path.
Just a little open, yeah. I mean, by going back up in, I mean, we can actually see from the distance data, by going back up in weight, picked 10 yards back up straight away. Just quality of contact's better. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Like you think you need a whole one maybe to feel a difference.
Yeah.
Someone hasn't been fit, I mean.
Yeah, it's I mean, really made a noticeable. I mean, it's stabilised. It's a little bit open now. With the Callaway, you can, with the sleeve setting, you can bring the toe in a degree to help square that up.
Those second two.
Those last two there were, basically right out the centre, right at the centre. Much better in terms of contact. So tightened up strike to there from those being higher heel. So immediately I've got those back onto centre point. Still staying a little bit right, but generally speaking, the spin consistency, if I take those first few off, we take those second two, there's an incredibly small tolerance on spin. Considering one launched a little bit higher than the other, just delivered slightly stronger delivery there. So yeah, very consistent spin. But then you're back up to 170 ball speed.
From 115 club head's pretty good. That's
yeah. And that's so the Titleist wasn't coming off the face quite as strong. So the Callaway's been very good for ball speed this year, particularly with that weight forward, particularly at higher speeds. So with that, I'm actually going to go. I want to put that first shaft back in this head and just see where we get to with that.
Okay.
So if you take the kind of general characteristics of your existing club, each element's a fairly kind of small, you might say fine-tuned. The head, the loft on the head, very close. If we just put loft up, the spin's going to flare. So I'd rather keep the flight a hair stronger on launch, and as in a bit lower on launch, but keep the spin under control and consistent than try to force flight, because really, your delivery, neutral to slightly down with a bit of a cover to it, you're just pulling that launch angle down a little bit.
For me with the driver, when I'm at my course, I want to be kind of carrying at least 280. Ideally, if I get over, is it one? Hole 7, yeah, so got to kind of hit a 280, 285 carry. Sometimes it might be a bit of wind off one side, so for me I'm trying to think 290. Obviously these are kind of very comfortable swings. I'm still trying to get a feel for it.
And with part of that is with that contact, that's then if you get the angle attack a little shallower, then you can get higher launch, not let the spin go up, pushes the carry up. So from there, that's one of those where say carry in total are completely optimal with that particular hit. The only way of shifting that is angle attack going to neutral or half a degree up, because that then pulls launch angle up, spin down, so you get that up and out flight, which will creep a few more yards onto it.
What did you change on this one just then?
Just going back to the first shaft we tested, I want to just go back to that to see how that moves, having been to a few others, but in this head as well. Okay, yeah, not as good. That's fine. I can take that. Yeah.
They get stuck
see that loop around more. So you can see that have a little bit more of that loop. Just a more complicated swing plane. So sometimes a case of dotting I's and crossing T's on that. A little bit of the Denali blue. So again, keeping it all pretty neutral from a setup point of view. It's structurally very stable. That's key, because you have that little bit of a drop in rotation. We don't want it torquing and twisting more open. We want to hold onto the club face for you, which also will make it feel controllable as well. Okay, let's put that. So with the previous shaft, we had to take a little bit of weight back off. That's also why after one swing and seeing it drop in, I knew I could take that away. Because what I had to do to the club head to get the weight back in check, and what happened in the swing tied up. So this one I can.
So when you're in a fitting like this, and we've seen like consistently that it's the face that's open. For me as a player, I'm thinking, okay, if I know that my face is open and as we've been discussing, I'm hitting slightly down, holding it off. At what point can I think, because I don't want to waste my time here, do I try to release it a bit more to get it square? But I don't want to do that if it's going to mess up numbers and how you compare other clubs and shafts.
We'll see with this, and then see how this one moves, and then it might well be because saying to that one, okay. It can be a little bit of both. I think there are going to be, so like, if you think how close those numbers are to being spot on, bang on, or neutral, that if there's a tendency to get a little down, leave the face a bit open, okay, well the next step might be, if that still moves best, then that's going to allow you to make that adjustment the most easily. So then saying, okay, we'll just hit up on it a little bit more. Let's see, does that feeling of hitting up on it help that face square up and get everything lined up?
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as that.
Could do that, yeah.
But that's the sort of thing with the driver is, it could be something which is just the driver.
Yeah.
And in some respects, it's a single direction miss.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same stuff. Yeah. It just makes you think, well, if I knew that's going to happen all the time, it's like 90% of the time happening, just almost get up and almost aim like that over there, but you don't want to be doing that on a golf course because you'll start doing that and you get a double cross or it go dead straight.
And we've seen you get neutraled out with it. So,
yeah.
It could just be that there's a particular feel key with the driver that just helps to square that off a little bit more often.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. Let's see one more of that. Okay, interesting. So with those you could see, right, so
I tried to swing a little bit harder on that one.
But what you could see there is that's then the swing that we want you to be going for, the more confident you get. And we've now seen the face go the other way.
Yeah, so that would be worse than seeing it go right.
Yeah, so where I had
both are bad, but that's even worse.
Add a bit of weight to the head to get the balance where we need it. That then also ties in with you've just overpowered the bottom end and flipped it. So I'm going to go back to that Speeder NX green because we haven't seen that shot with it. All we've seen is a tendency, okay, there's a bit of a leak right. But then if you can have the feel of just sweeping up on it a little bit, just a little bit. Okay.
I was going to say, from that swing, that kind of felt like I did try to release a little bit.
Yeah.
To sit, and before looking up to see where the ball actually hit, I thought, well, that's going to be a little bit left, but it's managed to stay.
But yeah, stayed very, very stable. I'll watch where I might be able to then, with that, because that's only 0.2 of a degree up, is a little bit of add loft there from your hands, but that might then allow me to bring the loft back down.
Slightly high in the face, like high.
No.
Yeah. Oh, slightly above middle,
pretty darn neutral. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good delivery line.
Left out.
Yeah, it's interesting when we go back to that shaft, that's just then kind of hair open.
Yeah.
So I think what we're seeing a little bit is, especially the more speed we generate, that's where the squash bit hurts you with the driver probably more than anything else because it's that bit longer.
What was it that's happened? Is it?
So it's a little bit, I'm going to exaggerate, it's that little bit of here, that, because that's your squash shot there.
Yeah.
If I do it actually with the head on the end, it'll make it more relevant. So that drops the face open. So that bit of here to that way, the club face is going, you're not over there. But as a principle, that's the squash that way.
Yeah.
To get that cut spin on it. And the longer the club is, the more further it's going, the more it's opening and the more likely to stay a little bit open.
Yeah.
So the driver is going to be the club that exaggerates it the most and where you're generating the most speed. So like that one, your path hair out to in, angle of attack dead flat. We've got much better launch. Those two you've hit up on it, the launch angle's gone way up.
Yeah.
So it actually might allow us to bring the loft back down.
It's funny you say up on it, it's like 0 and 0.2, but for me that's up.
Relative, yeah. So it's a better vertical delivery there. But there's that element. I think that transition for you, the longer the club gets, the more that face is working around, so it tends to just stay that little bit late and open. So this is where we'd look at, okay, well, do we, if you were to literally take it down half an inch and just go down the
grip down a little bit,
just a little bit.
And that's for what? Sorry, the
equivalent of just building it a hair shorter. There's a slightly shorter shaft.
Do you know? It's funny you say that. I did about a week or two ago. We had a spring meeting, which was 36 holes in a day, and I was like, my driver was not working well, and I thought, I had it in my head, it's too heavy for me, it's not working right. Just grip down, and I kept it in play. It weren't my longest drives, maybe 10 yards back, but better results. So
and so some of that gripping down will take the swing weight down a little bit, but then with that one being that bit longer again, and then bottom end heavy, if we've got a tendency for it to go there, everything's going there a little bit more, so it just helps to mitigate it a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny, just watching you do the demonstrations, I can feel that as well, because with the irons, I might do the same thing, but because I'm getting it down to there, it's okay. When it's forward in the stance, the hand, like my right hand just stays a little bit more open, and that's the face being open rather than there being shut down.
And the shorter shaft, if you've got a club that long, well, that's actually that much easier to get the toe back round and square it.
Yeah.
The longer it is, if you're out there, it's really looping around and drops in more. So it's just your, I guess you could call it swing quirk. Some would call it floor quirk technique. That bit of a drop, the longer it is, it just opens it up that much more. So you just makes the driver the most susceptible club to it. Slightly higher on the face?
Yeah.
Okay. Take that tee down a fraction. A little bit. Yeah, great.
It's the same with anything, when I was gripping it down, without realising you might end up start gripping it down further and further and further if you haven't got that same reference point, so it's good to check. Okay, well,
yeah, it's definitely softened it off a little bit. But again, it lessens the face angle a little bit.
Oh, the transition.
But it lessens the amount that it can drop around and under.
Okay.
So it lessens the amount you've got to do with the face to get it back there by just taking the length down a little bit. Ball speed's still 168 there, so. That was nice. I think that's the squarest one yet. Yeah. So what we see there is so that swing through the ball, you can see your kind of body, arms, club got extended down the line more. So 0.6, 0.3 hence being.
I mean, I'd copy and paste that over every tee box, I don't.
1 foot 11 inches right of target.
Yeah.
With 4 foot of shot shape. There's one other head I want to compare with to see how that affects the launch and spin. But certainly that's in a really good place. So the one that I want to go with, it's not actually the LS version of this. It's the Dark Speed DX. I'm going to move the heavyweight forward to mitigate the spin, but that should help keep the launch angle up a little bit. Yeah, so I was saying the camera, I'm going the Dark Speed in the X rather than the LS. The LS will knock launch angle down, but I'm going to put the heavyweight at the front to try and control spin like we did with the Callaway.
Before I come today, I actually had a little bit of prediction of what I thought you'd be putting me in, and it was going to be Ventus Blue with that. So it's good fun. I wanted to try it basically. Because one, I think they look really good, but from all the videos I've seen either from yourself or others where they've had similar swing speeds and misses or tendencies, that seems to do quite well. So
yeah, I mean the two, I mean both of these allow you to put the weight forward. Certainly for you, that's a good thing.
Is that what you're just doing there as well?
Yeah, just putting the 12 gram at the front and the 3 at the back.
Cool.
And when it's been good, it's been very, very good. I mean, Cobra.
They've got 3 heads, right? So you said there's a low spin one.
Yeah, so there's the max, which is the drawbar, so the higher spin.
That's the middle one.
This is the middle one. But the LS is just going to knock launch angle down. I don't want to restrict launch angle. I was going to say that's more for someone that's hitting it on the up. Yeah, it's kind of that higher launch, higher spin player generally does well in that one. So you know, someone like Matt who hits it into orbit, hits up on it 5-6 degrees, it keeps the launch angle from popping up. Whereas actually we want it to keep it up a little more, which is where the Callaway's historically have been very good. Was the Callaway the triple diamond or the middle? Triple diamond. So that was the actual lowest spin they do, out of the 3 they do, right? Yeah. They do a tall one, don't they, as well? It's like different for the tall players. Apparently. There's one coming out shortly, which we are getting 7 or 8 heads in, which is the max, which is a bit more spin. So slightly more stable off centre, but a bit more spin. They're doing it, it's very limited numbers. I think it's about 500 heads. Certainly Europe-wise, 500 odd heads. Because it's one that's being used on tour, they are releasing it. It's a halfway house between the max and the triple diamond. So there will certainly be people it will suit, but does this normally sit slightly open, or is it, what setting is this? Because of the sole shape, it can do. So we're actually just turn the loft up a hair, but because the sole shape's a little bit more rounded up, it makes it kind of sit back onto the back a little bit. Yeah. So naturally, I should be kind of groove it back to square. Yeah. Okay. It kind of shape-wise and look-wise, it kind of sits between the Titleist and the Callaway one I was using, in terms of it's slightly toe up. Yeah, it just looks really good. Am I gripping down on this? Yeah, so do the same thing on the shaft length, thank you. Probably draw a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Mostly definitely toe, isn't it? I think, yeah. So straight away, I mean, half a degree face to path, but that shorter length immediately can see you're not fighting the face. And also, because the first swing, I've tried to like get this thing square, so I need to figure out how much I need to do that after it's sitting on the floor. A little higher on the face. Yeah. I'll see where I may take the tee height down a little bit. What's wrong? I don't. So, I mean, flight-wise, good. Yeah. Don't think there's quite as much ball speed as the Callaway. I'm not sure if I grip down a little bit more without meaning to there. Let me try and make sure I'm gripping down the same amount. Make sure I do a full swing. A little bit lower in the face, but well, it's funny how that goes left on 3 of them. Yeah, a little more. Now, whether that's where you're turning that in a little bit. Yeah. I mean, what we can certainly see with the slightly shorter length with the Callaway and this, there's not that big one. There's not that big open up and drop right. It's actually very, very neutral, face to path. You know, half a degree, 1 degree. Do you mind if I swing with it gripping normal with it? Yeah, like, feel free. Just because I have seen it go left, maybe it's either that or I actually just sat with it sitting on the floor and not. I don't know. It's either or, but so kind of where there. Okay, it's amazing how much longer that feels now. And there it goes to the right. No, it goes right. Yeah. So you can see in transition that's just dropped open. So toe strike saved you there, but that's got that dropping open. So the shorter length is definitely a key thing. Where was the location on the impact location on that? That was a little more onto the toe. I mean, that's but not a bad result. Noticeably opening. So the open face and the toe strike is saved it. Is a good effect. Compromise. But on the other ones, I've been open face heel, so Yeah, and it's, I mean, interesting with this one though. The ball speed's not quite as strong. Not quite. I mean, it's stable.
Yeah. Do you mind if I have one more swing?
Please do, absolutely. Yeah, I think the Callaway from ball
sometimes
speed.
I feel like I've not done it justice. Not because I don't know. As well, when you're doing a driver fitting, when do you feel like there's a drop-off point for some people? Is it like 30, 40 hits or?
You're lasting out pretty well. Most of the time I just switch to fairway, then to go back and freshen up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of time in between talking and figuring out stuff, so it's fine.
So, but yeah, we generally, it's we're at 50 shots, so it's not, you've not been kind of machine gunning it, which can happen. Yeah.
So to me, that felt like it was going to go right.
I think flight-wise, it's solid. It's certainly a
was that low in the face?
Option. Little bit lower. Yeah,
I didn't read that. It was a little bit low, I feel.
But you can see from the spin as well, a little bit lower. But I think in terms of overall ball flight, ball speed,
yeah, you actually prefer the Callaway
for a flight now.
Is it just because I'm trying to fade it, but I've seen a draw?
Just from where the ball speeds have been, consistency-wise, where the launch and spin's been, they're both. I mean, that's certainly by no means a bad option.
It's definitely better than
I think
my
that
one.
head's giving you a little bit more. Now, you've got to enjoy using it. That's the other side of it. But I think
it's because I like the blacked out look, although I have to say the carbon fibre on here is also very nice.
So I mean, between the averages, you're looking at, there's 0.3 of a difference on miles an hour club speed.
Yeah.
Cobra's averaging 165 and a 144 efficiency. The Callaway's averaging 167 and 146.
But the shot shapes, one's left and one's right.
Let me take out, where do we start to go?
That is actually very strange because I've honestly tried to do the same swing.
Potentially where with the Cobra, it's where they're consciously closing it in a little bit. So that's something, so with the Callaway thing, those last couple, absolutely dead square. But seeing more ball speed and just retaining a little bit more launch angle. That was a little higher on the face.
Yeah.
With the Callaway overall. And that's without being overly selective on it. So I think the potential for the Callaway to overall the yardage and flight, just a little bit stronger.
So with this, am I doing the grip down?
Yep, definitely.
Grip down one, yep. I think I'll stand a bit close. It's not a bad result considering how bad it felt. Is it slightly toe then
toe
saved it?
On that one, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so we're back into, so that one count a little bit lower.
Yeah.
We're still seeing higher ball speeds and efficiencies from this head.
Yeah. It has a little bit of a softer feel when you catch one, which I'm surprised at just from watching videos and stuff, whereas that one felt more like you're hitting a metal ball, whereas this one feels like a marshmallow. Not that extreme.
They'll all have different acoustics, the type of materials they use, the way the sound comes off the club head. That will, as you say, that'll affect the feel and feedback from the club head.
How has it stayed open again?
That one got that little bit more of a drop round and under.
0-0, but.
Yeah, you see that one just had that little bit more of a drop under through. So I mean, in terms of, we see one more, then what I think we'll do is we'll have a look at fairway wood. You can always hit a couple more just to round off at the back end, rather than you do get to the point where it can hit too many of the same club in a row in terms of driver swings.
Yeah. thing is, when you're in a sim, you almost try to hit it harder, or you try and hit it straight. You always like, because you can see numbers and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So. That was right at the bottom. It's done all right though, considering.
So I think it's just switch over to fairway wood.
Yes.
We're going to come back and just do a couple more. We know the shoulder length's good.
Yeah.
From a performance point of view, both heads are weight forward, heads that retain a little bit of launch. I think generally speaking, the Callaway has a little more potential of a little extra ball speed.
Yeah.
And a slightly stronger spin relative to launch angle, so letting us get a hair more launch and keep the spin in check. But it's not that that's a bad club. I think there's a little bit more performance out of the Callaway.
Yeah, it's interesting you spot those things, because I would have just been like, oh wow, the Cobra's done the better job, because the issue was my club face. I actually managed to get the club face going the other way. And I feel like if I can keep going after that, I can start aiming down the middle of the fairway rather than the left side of the fairway.
Yeah.
But you know, we're only hitting 4 or 5 shots. Maybe those were a little bit lucky. Maybe I've closed the face at address because it was sitting open. You know, like I said. But I don't know.
Must be a little, and you've got tools with the Callaway like the draw setting that can help to bring that in a little bit more as well, without having to feel like you've got to do it. So there are things that you can do with that head
to tweak it,
just to fine tune that by a degree or so. Having said that, you still would have put a 0.2, 0.4, you know, 0.6, 0.3 on the Callaway setting as well. You know, 1 degree open.
yeah.
There's the odd one that, yes, dropped underneath and got out there, but then squared it off and hit one dead down the line with a slight draw as well. But still keeping a little bit more ball speed.
Yeah.
Keeping the spin a hair lower as well. So that's where, for me, the Callaway gives you just, in terms of raw performance-wise, just a little bit more out of it.
Okay.
But we'll get into the fairway.
So right, shall I hit these off the ground?
I think hit these off the deck, yeah, because that's, if we get it working off the ground, then that means off a tee, basically a low tee for you with the way you deliver it.
Yeah.
Is going to be easy.
So what is it set to now? D4. Which one's D4? I have messed around with my settings quite a few times.
It's 1 notch above standard. So neutral lie, 1 notch above standard. So you're taking it effectively from 15 to 15 and a half, 15 3/4.
I think it was B3 I had the best thing, which is up and then lie angle slightly upright 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was fighting the right side.
Okay, makes sense. And again, this one, from what we've done with the driver, this one's more weight, the Tensei 1K black is more down the bottom end of the shaft. Okay. So I don't think it's excessively heavy dead weight, but it is heavier in the bottom end again.
Yep.
So you can see, the shorter shaft length, you can see that's a load easier to get that club back, because where the pitch of the swing's naturally a little bit steeper, the swing plane's naturally a bit steeper, it's easier for it to drop and then to bring it back down onto the ball.
Yeah, I'm doing that as opposed to...
The shallower it is, the more it drops, the more you've then got to send it back out there and get to it. So straight away, that's a cleaner, it looks a slightly simpler move by bringing that shaft length down. So that definitely backs up taking the driver shaft down a fraction.
I mean, you can see why I've also turned it up, because that's up a notch, and it's not far off my bad drivers as compared to that.
Yeah, I mean, what's not bad with it though, so what we're looking at, what I like to see at the top bit of the bag is where the first fairway wood runs out to, then the driver carries to. So you have that kind of carry, run out, so that little bit of an overlay. So spin-wise, I know it's an individual shot, but spin-wise is in a solid place for the first fairway wood. I always say first, for some people that's a 5 wood.
Yep.
It's a strong launch, but it's 4 degrees down.
So
it's not a bad ball flight. I mean, that's still 20...
This club is used once for me on my golf club, and it's a shot that I want max going 275, 270.
Yeah.
I want it to kind of land at about 260, 265. It's a dog leg left, and I've got to hit it over a 70-foot tree to cut it off.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm fade biased, it's like, well, I'll try and hit it straight. My miss is going to go right a bit, and the tree line's going to come in at 255, 250 if it goes too far right. Yeah. So that can go hot, and then I can lose a ball. Okay. I could be stuck on the tree trunk. So that's why I've turned it up. But obviously, if I flush it quite well, I can. That's okay because it's got over and around the tree probably if I tee it up as well. Yeah. If it goes out to the right, that's bad news for the distance. So maybe 4 or 5 wood is probably where I'd be
so,
going.
Yeah, so if you're for that, if you're doing it specifically for that kind of shot, then yeah, bringing it back 10 yards or so.
Yeah.
But get the spin more like kind of 3 to 3.5, bring the launch angle up to 9 degrees or so.
Like I say, if I can get some height on it as well, because if you do catch it skinny, it goes into the trees, and it's not good either. So.
Yeah, she doesn't move badly.
Yeah.
So, but that one's well, got the higher launch on that, and the spins, proportionately the spins come up the same amount. So what's nice is it hasn't flared the spin. It's where the launch angle is where the spin sits. It kind of sits in sync with one another. And then we're kind of back into where really that's pretty close. If you get the contact the same, then you're 258 carry, maybe 273.4 total. But that's a kind of slightly softer ball flight.
Yeah,
a little less steep on the angle of attack as well.
These are off the deck as well. Like I say, it's the one shot is slightly teed up, so that will help launch.
Let's see if I put a peg in the ground on that. See where that flight. I'll just rotate board so the ball doesn't fatigue.
I think the actual attack angle and where the liver will be the same, but it will just hit higher in the face maybe because of that. So. That's gone right a little bit. So that's not too bad.
So that's the slightly heavy.
Actually, yeah.
So yeah, a little bit lower, slight heel side, so it spun up a little bit. The delivery line's nice with that. It doesn't, whereas the driver you could really see you had to work the club back square.
Yeah, it feels like
that's
so much
squaring up really quite nicely. So that one, just contact points just hurt you from a spin point of view. However, I guess for the shot you're talking about, it's got loads of height. It'd be interesting to compare on that shaft actually, the slightly higher loft head, just to see where that takes the launch and the spin to, because in the TSR3, it should keep the spin down but allow us to go ahead more lofted.
I've only ever used driver 3 wood and then down to 3 iron, so I've never touched 5 wood, 7 wood, 41-inch shaft or anything, so it'd be interesting to see whatever you put in my hands here.
Yeah, I think at your angle of attack and speed, the problem, if you take loft a little high into a fairway, then the spin's just going to flare. Because you've got that squeeze onto it, you get a lot of friction on the back of the ball, it really kicks the spin up. So the danger, you go a little bit too much loft, and then it's like hitting a brick wall from, if there's any breeze into it, it's just killing it.
We have wind more often than not as well, and on that shot, it's, usually it can be into or goes against.
So we don't want to let that get up too high. I'm just going to pull out TSR3 in the 16.5. So just get that loft up a little bit, but keep a head that keeps the spin in check, in theory.
That was the...
It's only the T splitting, that's all.
Oh, was it T?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know what? I actually forgot I was hitting off a T then.
Slightly. Okay, so got to up the face a little bit more. Interestingly enough, that's taken the spin down but kept a little bit of launch. Let me just dig this one in. Let's just see one more of that.
Yeah, I actually forgot the T was there, so that's why I thought that was the lead weights coming off.
Just the T split in half. So I think with your delivery, you'll be a wooden T breaker.
Yeah, especially the low ones.
So a little more launch.
That's a flight that I like to see as well.
It's just getting up a little bit. That's kind of more like a 5 wood spin.
Where's the location on that one? If it's picked it up, so slightly heel. That's
marginal. Yeah, marginal. Definitely seeing a little bit more launch though. So, that's then it's going to naturally get the flight, the peak peak of the flight up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let's just see. Yeah, sort of 8, 9, 10.5 with the 15 degree and the TSI 3. These ones are at 12.5. So let's pick that base launch angle up a little bit. I want to actually take that down a fraction in terms of loft.
Sorry about that.
No, that's right.
I'm terrible at the driving range as well. If I use those pink tees for the driver, it starts pinging off.
So that one then, maybe a little bit higher up the face for that contact point, but that's pretty darn centered. So what it's doing, as a head, what this one's doing is letting you get more launch. It might be interesting to see us off the ground, but without the spin flaring up.
Right.
So it's definitely seeing more launch angle.
But it's going a bit too far.
It's whether it's taking a bit too much spin off, and that's actually where...
If I hit a shot like that, it's fine. It's if I drift it right with that kind of total, that's when I'm in trouble with it.
So it's interesting where your current head's getting you to. And actually, it's what it's doing is it's letting it retain a little bit of spin, whereas this head's potentially, it'd be interesting to see this off the ground, but potentially just taking, so I'll grab the tee from me.
Oh, sorry.
Potentially taking a little too much spin off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
bit toey.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's really accurate from a face to path point of view. So actually, yeah, slightly higher up the face on it. You're really squaring it off well. So from a shot dispersion point of view, direction point of view, it's great.
Swinging it like a scratch player now. See.
Yeah, I mean, so it's been really unerring from a face to path point of view. You're barely deviating. This head's definitely, I'm going to get the TSR2, it's just a little bit low on spin. Let's see if we go to the 2 series, because I think TSI2 for you would have spun it too much.
Mm-hmm.
TSR2
they've got a bit tighter, haven't they, in terms of the spin? And
yeah, and it was.
I've noticed more better players have started using the TSR2 drivers and fairway.
Yeah, they've definitely come down. I mean, almost the shame was when they changed, the TSR2 became, we felt, almost too close to TSR3 for spin. Mm-hmm. But then when they brought the 1 in, that was then okay. But the TSI2 is great for retaining spin, which actually a lot of amateurs need.
Yeah, for the height carry.
So I'm going to get the TSR2 in the 16 in the same loft, but just to see if it retains just that little bit more spin.
Sounds quite nice, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, so for me, before I come today, I'll be like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, which it's not free wood really, because obviously free wood would be another 10 yards, but or is it a free wood? Like, no, it's still
that's
3.5,
slightly high, yeah. I mean, it's 3.5 forward, or whatever you want to call it. Just taking the base loft up a little bit helps, and the newer head styles with the CG being a little lower helps just retain that you're getting a little bit more launch angle relative to loft.
And where was the spin? Location point on that?
Marginally above centre on that one. Yeah. Marginally.
And the fact
which is
I've
where there's
spun
a
that well
bit of a drop in ball speed. But the fact that retain that spin, that's great, because with the 3 it dropped to 2.7.
Mm-hmm.
But keeping that same delivery pattern and shot shape as well, really neutral.
That's a bit lower, so it should be a bit lower in the face as well. Let's see what happens with that. It's gone left.
So you got,
all right, so shut
just
face.
A little more on top of it, just shut it down a little bit.
And that's not the end of the world.
Below and a good ball speed. Yeah, it's still retained 107 foot. You know, so it's not like it's bulleted. I think that's where the TSR3 with that comes out.
It might be
flat.
like 90 or something. 90
I think you think you're going to see the spin noticeably lower out the 3, which for what you want it to do.
I just realised closed face and 4.4 is a lot of spin for a closed face.
Yeah.
Where
got a little into the heel side as well.
All right.
But the good, I guess, it's better that for what you want it to do, it's better it does that than bullets it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm saying that's a good thing. For sure, that's definitely good.
That was never going left.
Exactly, I was about to say, yeah, that's an overcorrection, but...
So with that one, marginally open face, that's then a really good flight window.
Yeah, so that's heel based again. That's
slightly, yeah, well, marginal.
That's all right.
Fractionally open. That's a bit of a drifted fade, but it's in a safer spin window for the flight you want it to be.
Again, when my numbers was like a 255 carry, like on a not so well struck or something flared up, 255 would be like nice. If I do catch it well, 265 carry, going to about 270. Like I'm pretty sure that's what I probably said to you.
Yeah, and what's nice with that, it's
nice seeing that.
It's not kind of got that sort of flight. It's mid.
It's not ballooning.
So it's a very mid-launch, mid-spin profile. So it's a very vanilla ball flight, but that's what we want.
Shall I try a T?
Yes. Yeah, we'll see that off for T as well. There you go. I'll pop that one. I'll dig it. It helps to dig it in. Get that sat in there.
Yeah, it's like you want in between the green and the red, don't you, when you're trying
to... Nice, that'll be an interesting one.
That should be like nice shape. Yeah, a little bit sharp.
Little bit more spin on that one.
That's the exact distance I want.
Slightly kind of low side of centre, but it's not really flared up. A few hundred revs.
No.
We still kept plenty of launch, good ball speed. So you know the middle one's probably at 3.3.
I feel better about using this into a long par 5 as well. With that, it's only run out 12 yards.
Yeah. So that one, I mean, that's landing on fairway as well as the kind of the way that they set this up. So it skids a little bit more.
Right, I see what you're
saying.
So
you know that one coming into a green, you're at 130 feet, 48 landing. Well, that's stopping, you know, at low 260s. That's coming in pretty with a nice amount of stop to it. So you're not going to have to force the flight onto it. If anything for you, it's going to be easier to keep the flight down because of where you deliver it, you cover it. It's going to be easier to take a bit of flight off than to try to flare it up.
A lot of the par 5s I have, there's bunkers in front as well. So if I hit it like a bullet, and obviously that's the only way to get it in and be pin high. So having the height to come in, it's just...
Yeah.
I don't use it often in the par 5s. It's usually when I mess up my tee shot, like we've seen my driver, it's flared out to the right, and now I've got
it'd have to be a 560 yard par 5.
Another 30, 40 yards in, so that's where it'd come out. But yeah, even tee shots has been working great. Off the fairway, it seems to be like it's doing the job as well. So
yeah, and I think
it's only the head change.
Yeah, and the shaft's swinging great. We haven't seen one where that face to path has deviated in any kind of concerning way. But it also backs up, as we said it earlier, the slightly shorter driver length, because that's the only real differentiation. That's the only thing we're seeing with the driver of it going right. The only thing it can be is shaft length, because it's so noticeable how stable that one is. And when we went down the driver shaft, we saw that stabilise and square up a little bit more. I've had a couple,
even that last swing there, I felt I kind of rescued it, but got it where I wanted. I rescued it to a good shot, whereas the others are like, I felt good through the shot and it still come out bad, and I've rescued it or tried to rescue it. I've not done it. So the short shaft definitely suits me. It stops it getting stuck from the inside. Trying to play a fade from the inside, which is just bad news.
Which is then in the right trees. So I think fairway wood actually a very simple one. It's a case of we can give you the extra launch and actually basically I think keep the spin where. You know, that's averaging, there was one that was a little bit lower on the face, so popped it a little bit, but averaging 3.7 on spin, so it's got that little bit of softness, and you can always take that down half a degree if you wanted to as well.
To get more pop, if it comes to winter or something and it's cold outside, those numbers won't be 255, they might be 250 with a bit of cold weather, playing in like 5 degrees or something. So that's where I want to see it,
So, you know, this one, 9 degree launch and 3.6 on spin. We're going to 11.5 launch and 3.7 on spin. So actually the spin to launch is actually a lot quieter, but it's giving us the TSR series is giving us extra launch, but stopping the spin from flaring up. So really keeping the softness, but gaining you extra height. I mean, on average, you're picking up 119 feet from picking up 15, 20 feet. but without it doing it through spin, which is great. It's just launch angle picking up. So if anything, it's actually more of that kind of stable, kind of up with the launch and stay there flight rather than launching low and the spin trying to get it to the top. It's naturally there. And so they say the spin to launch angle is actually lower. Which is, that's what we've seen with the TSR versus TSIs. So for me, this is as simple as a head switch.
Yeah, and that's good as well, because if I fancy, I could just change the heads out of my boot. But I'll probably sell the old one. But it saves a bit of time, doesn't it? Just knowing I've got everything ready, it's just a head switch.
And we can see how well it's so repeating through all of these. You know, your original one, path very neutral, face to path less than a degree off. You know, the same. You know, 0.7 on path, 0.4 on face, 0.8 on path, 1 degree. It's no more than 1 degree offline, which is. Yeah, you can't really ask much more than that. And very, very consistent.
It's just a matter of there's only a few shots there. It could have been the other way around for each of those, just based on me swinging. And like you say, it's only 1 degree. So most important thing is looking at launch and spin.
Half a degree difference, but yeah, we're seeing. You see with the TSR3, it's another 700 revs lower spin, which then gets it into a distance and a trajectory that you're not looking for. And the moment we switched head, we were able to bring the loft back down because we weren't having to force the loft to get the spin. So it stops it being too, it takes out the risk of the low spin bomb and gives you a much more stable spin window.
There's a bit of rough on the course. There's no rough here, no grass in between the balls, so a bit more spin.
It's only going to take a little bit of spin off. So yeah, very simple on the fairway.
Cool.
So what's good to do is just to go back to that, just to having swung something different, just to sort of round off on the driver.
Yeah, it frustrates me going from. With a 3-wood, I feel like my misses is so much tighter, and then I get this in my hands. It's just. So grip down.
Just grip it down that 1/2 inch, just below the white line at the top of the grip.
Just below.
Just below that white line at the top. So
that's where I was doing it before.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Straight away face open. It's just maybe I should tee it down more and just squeeze it. I have had success with that on the course, but I just feel like I'm giving up too much distance.
It's a little higher on the face. Let me take it down a little bit.
-6.
Doesn't need to be a lot. A little lower on the face, but look, it's squared off better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 0.9 open, that's just strike point's got a little bit lower on the, a little lower on the, let me just reverse the tee height. Whether it is a case of just take that down a little bit further.
I know that after I've done this, I'm going to go back and think, well, if I'm consistently like getting stuck here and swinging from here, maybe I should just try and practice hitting a draw for a couple of months, because that's where, if I'm coming from the inside all the time, or if it's dropping there, it would be more natural to kind of hit up and swing to the right. But I see everything on the course as that, if that makes sense.
I think if you try to hit the draw, then you're actually, so the shorter shaft helps it to square naturally, but you're not someone who is that way through the ball. You're here and then getting, basically it squares through natural kind of body turn rather than arms rolling.
Yeah.
So I would say that could be a dangerous thing to do.
And then,
I'd be more inclined to say, okay, with the driver, yes, maybe aim left half of fairway because it's either straight or a bit of a drop right.
Yeah.
And you might find even more with the slightly shorter shaft, the more confident you get that it squares off as much. But the driver, yes, is definitely a little bit more, because of the longer shaft length, definitely drops it open a touch more. So it's certainly something we're seeing with that club that just doesn't happen with the shorter shaft on the fairway. It happened, I mean, that last one was only 0.9 open. So strike point made it gear off a little bit more.
Yeah, took the ball speed away and spin up,
But a little bit of that was tee height as well. I went a little low on the tee.
I'll try and rotate a bit more.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think certainly right now, it's not excessive. Out of interest, just take it down a hair more. Just a hair more, as in, sorry, down the shaft, just a fraction more. So just maybe what feels like about an inch down.
Like that?
Just fractionally higher. Just go up a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Feels like you can really like stand over the ball, like you would more like a free would or something.
Yeah, it may be just getting that length down gives you that little bit more face control. I think there's a strong argument for it.
It's it's amazing how that little grip, just moving back here, this area becomes like really hard for me to navigate. Yeah. Standing here, I feel like, oh, there it is. There's the path, and if that's all comfortable, then I can focus on the face and I can feel the face.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, what happens is the shorter the shaft gets, the more the pitch of the natural pitch of the swing gets more that way rather than there. So from
you mean the swing plane?
It's less light. It's harder for it to drop. Yeah. So the plane the setup, playing the swing naturally becomes a little bit more there. So you've got to go. It's harder for it to drop under. From here, it's more likely to drop in and behind. Yeah. So taking that shaft length down a little bit. I mean, that one's marginally over closed, but immediately going down the shaft. We saw it going slightly down earlier on. Immediately the face comes in a little bit more. So if there's a tendency to leave it a little bit open, then what we can see, it's only happening with this club. Yeah. It's once you get to 43 inches on the fairway wood, which is 2 inches shorter than standard driver length. Yep. That goes completely.
I mean, and this is 45. I grip down to about 44.
That one was
so that's
gripping
1
at
inch
best
difference.
part of 44, and so straight away it's a slight. The swing line is a slight draw swing line. So if that becomes, I guess it's engaged brain that I can. It's whether it's better to have it as a slight bleed right as the miss, or actually something that you don't even have to worry about right. And when you're swinging it well, it's a hair of a draw, and a miss is a marginal push rather than a good one being straight and a miss being a push.
The more I grip down, the more comfortable I feel like the ball moving, not to the middle of my stance, but less over here because I don't want to be reaching for it. So the closer I am, the more I want it to get to like where I was playing the free wood. Free wood for me is there's a ball, and then up at so the ball's gap between my heel, then the ball. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Whereas with the driver before gripping it normally, I'm like just inside the hill.
Got to put that bit further forward,
Yeah. Whereas when I grip down, I feel like I can just, it's there. So maybe that changes things.
Yeah, worth doing one more with that grip position.
Okay.
Yeah, it
definitely square
just
face.
Doesn't get open on you.
This might be a bit spinny, no?
So little bit heel side.
Yeah.
But actually, so that's just gearing it back that way, but it's not doing it through the face.
I mean, a lot of that path now going right is probably because I've moved the ball back a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But the face is easily squaring up.
Whereas if I put it normal, it'd probably be all right.
So I still, the connection, the timing and the synchronization with that shaft is still great. But I think it is a case of get the shaft length down, because that stops you fighting the club face. Yeah. So then that's going to allow you just to point shoot a lot more, like you do with the 3-wood, and not be having to worry about, is this the one that's going to go right? Yeah. Every now and then, put funky swing on, it'll go right, but it'll be a swing issue rather than the club getting out of sync.
Yeah. It could be a matter of, like,
quite definite, I think, with that.
Point and shoot for now. I'm fairly new to golf in terms of how long I've been playing. So maybe in a couple of years' time, I can think, well, my swing's getting better. I'm not getting as stuck as often. I can then get up to 45 inch and like full length. Yeah,
and it's really, and it's a case of whether it's worth doing. And like, if you're up at, having hit 70 balls, you're still at 166, 167 mile an hour.
That miss there was the same as like 167. Yeah, that miss there was like the same as 120 foot with the others, like full, miss. Whereas that's probably what, 50 foot. Yeah, 50.
Yeah. You're looking at.
That's like probably middle to right edge of fairway, based on where I'm aiming.
On a 30-yard fairway, which is essentially a fairly standard US Open fairway.
Only issue is a bit of height, maybe.
I mean, it's a marginal one. If you take kind of that previous shot there, again, you're never going to hit moonball with driver. You know, 93 feet. It's high enough. It's high enough. Again, if you put it on an optimizer, okay, technically there's a few miles now ball speed again, but actually flight-wise, that's really good. You know, the last one there, yes, got a little lower on the face, was a little bit flatter there, but the previous one, which was more neutraled off, 9.7 and 2.5 launch at a 1/2 degree down, that's actually in a very good carry and total flight window. That's just a little bit more ball speed gets you to completely optimal. But it's still a good ball flight, and so relative to the Cobra, you still, you know, you're getting the 167, 68s out the Callaway, which we weren't quite getting out of that.
I'm surprised actually. Do you reckon that's because it's triple diamond versus the middle of the line Cobra? I'm not saying I
mean,
should
the triple
be in
diamond's
the LS1,
always has been a fast head. You know, the weight forward, you know, I mean, as a head, the paradigm last year, equally speaking, was a fast head. We are only looking at a couple of miles nest. It's not like the Cobra's horrendous on ball speed. For me, that's just giving you a little bit more.
280 carry is right on the number where it's like there's two drives, one in particular where it's like I need to hit this hard. If I can get that 290 carry on that, and just whereas now that we're gripping down a little bit, it's bringing it into might catch the top lip, but that's on me. If I'm more accurate, I can kind of aim to the left side of the fairway rather than bunker.
You potentially can let the shaft out a little bit more as well, the shorter length. That's when you build a bit more speed, the club comes with you a little bit more, whereas you try then get the full length, the more you put into it, the more likely it is to drop open. So you might well find actually where it's squaring up more easily, you can actually put a bit more into it and keep it down the line, which then, I mean, actually, you know, that one, you get full ball speed out of that, you're comfortably up at 287, 288.
See if I can get myself in the mindset of that particular tee shot, try and hit up with a bit more speed. Is that right? See what numbers I get, just out of interest. So tee height's same, but
yeah, perfect. Yeah.
So grip down, a little bit further up, wider stance. Now I've just pulled it a little bit. And that's where, for me as a player, I've got to be wary of that. Now it's lighter if I've gripped down.
Yeah, and that's coming through. You haven't got to whip it around as much. Yeah. So you did your job with the angle of attack there, but then you almost sort of squared the face from a place that didn't need squaring from.
Yep.
So you don't need to worry about the club face of this one.
So that should be a bit.
Okay, that'll be an interesting one. 171 ball
right
speed,
a little bit.
11 launch.
Oh no, it hasn't gone right.
So.
Okay.
Interesting. Marginally out of the heel side, but
so that's the situation. I've got another 10 carry or so.
Absolutely hit. Then that brings the spin down a bit more than you are at 290. So you can see if we pull that spin down a little bit. Actually, carry's good. It just runs out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's then you're able to get that angle of attack up, build a little bit more speed, and not have to worry about the head dropping under. And
if I can get those numbers all the time, little club path to the right, slightly shut face, that'd be ideal.
Yeah, but let's let you shift the angle of attack when you've wanted to as well.
Out of interest as well, the whole of today I've just been doing like the stock swings. If I go at it more with the foot, just gripping it normally, see what that, just out of interest as well. That's gone right.
Yeah, it's
stayed not as bad as
good
my
contact.
Club.
Good contact on it, but it's got to just opening up that little bit more.
Yeah.
So if you want to build the speed on it, the longer length just brings the right in a bit more. So then you've got to square it a little bit.
Yeah.
More.
Okay. That was 4 up, 0.4 up.
Yeah, so go up the shaft, there is a bit more speed, but there's a bit more right as well.
Yeah. Attack angle's now up as well, up to almost 300 carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. The contact points of those two bigger hits are actually, I think, quite middle. Actually, that's not too bad.
Pretty good.
I prefer it on that side of the bottom. Yeah.
But just got that 3.5 open, so we're then back up to 40 yards right again.
It's no good, yeah.
So and that's where that bit of, is it better to be a little longer or is it better to be a little straighter?
Yeah.
Right now, I'd definitely give you the shorter length.
Open fairway, it's obviously choked down, but if there's a bunker at 280, 285, there's a bit of wind I'm not sure about up there. Okay, maybe I should cook it, but aim left and just try and carry the bunkers.
I just think the moment you go longer, you're fighting the right-hand side more. And there's always going to be a hole. Well, look, you can get 287 to 290 out of the shorter shaft length through the air. But what you mitigate is you mitigate that right-hand miss with the shorter shaft length. The moment we give you the longer shaft length, we bring that right-hand miss in, you've got to work the face a bit more. Does that actually then start to affect some of the other bits where you're having to work the face and manage that? Whereas the shorter shaft length, you haven't got to square it off. It's already there, which is where you are with this. So my feeling would be, I mean, certainly the 1/2 inch down, because you could always take a little bit more if you try. I would definitely go shorter than the 45.
Yeah.
I think right now your straightest setup is 44, 44.25. But 44.5, you could argue, well,
it was an improvement.
It's definitely an improvement. You can always take a hair more off if you want to, but certainly take the 1/2 inch off for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, so driver-wise, not huge changes, but actually quite a good uplift in ball speed. Definitely easier to swing. I mean, the shorter shaft length as well.
Yes.
I think that the moment we did that, it was better. The lack of right or losing a little bit of the right miss was definitely better with this. Face stability better the moment we changed the balance. But the shorter length just transformed how much you're able to square it off without having to force it.
Stuck behind me and then face open through impact. So yeah, much better having the short shaft.
Yeah, and that's something that a little bit of it's you could argue a quirk of your action, the way that you create a lot of rotation and drop the club in and have that kind of fast lag whip kind of generation of speed. If it was more of a gradual build up, it would be less of an issue. But the longer lever for you really got the face opening up and just lost you that stability of the club face really.
Yeah.
Callaway head, the Cobra is very good. Callaway head just shaded it on ball speed, just shaded it on spin. Very stable. As you say, the Cobra's been a really good performer this year.
Both great looking, a little bit of carbon fibre on top of this one. That's all black, this is carbon fibre, but they're very good looking clubs, both of them.
Yeah.
So.
And just squeezed a little bit extra performance out of it. But I think if we start the 1/2 inch shorter, we can always nip a fraction more off it if need be. But much more stability of the face, much more easy to square through the ball, which means the moment you don't have to fight squaring it, that's when I think that left-right dispersion really tightens up. So, little bit, best part of 3/4 of an inch shorter than your current one.
Yeah, because mine was more than 45. I thought it was 45. It's 45.25, right?
Just 45 3/8. Yeah. So they've crept. Titleist have crept a little longer as their standard length the last couple of series. But so for you, that's just a bit of a barrier to squaring the face up. And yes, we may lose 1 or 2 miles in our club speed, but as we said earlier, being in play, losing the concern of that miss right, there's every chance you might gain some of that speed back up with it. So yeah,
as you get more confident, you can just swing harder as well. If you know you're not going to keep going right with it, you get the club face more square, you're going to get more efficiency. So
absolutely, and if we can lose that that little voice in the back of your head going, is this going to go right, or don't miss it right?
Try and take some off it just in case I do leave it open, and then you're further back in the trees as well. So.
So more freedom, more consistency, and a little bit more yardage.
Yeah.